We learn in school, American students learn a largely Eurocentric point of view of history, largely through the lens of Europeans or white people. You know, this is dangerous because it focuses too much on Europe and we don't get to learn about we don't get to learn enough about you know, the history of Africa or the history of Asia. You know? Especially Africa, we hardly ever learn about Africa. And I'll always grayed out. I mean, we touched on we barely touched on Africa. So, we really didn't talk about. I mean, we barely even Northern Africa. We barely even talked about. We hardly talked about Egypt or Carthage, and we sure as hell really didn't talk about Ethiopia really at all, which is a shame. Like Aksum Empire, was one of the most powerful empires in during like zero BC. That was one of the most powerful empires in the world at the time. And we hardly ever get to learn about the Mali Empire, which, holy shit, that was one of the most powerful empires in the world at the time, for sure. It was very wealthy empire, home to the richest man who's ever lived that they know of. But sometimes sometimes they point out somebody else who was even richer, but the Mansa Musa I'm referring to, obviously, he was very wealthy, though. He was the wealthiest man on earth. And according to most people, he's the wealthiest man in history. So why not learn more about the Mali Empire, Ghana Empire, the Songhai, some of the other empires, nations, civilizations down in other parts of the continent of Africa. I hardly ever get to learn about it. Yeah, we get to learn about Europeans, basically taking over pretty much the whole continent, but we don't get to learn about what happened before too much, besides the slave trade and people being traded, that sort of thing. I mean, we touch on Asia somewhat, well, more so than Africa. We really don't get to. We don't touch on Asia enough. Especially like the Persian Empire, some of the Chinese dynasties, and some of the other great kingdoms and empires throughout Asia's history. We don't even barely get to touch on the history of Australia prior to Europeans going there. Or Oceania, for that matter, we were talking about home. The schools, or if at all. When we get to talk about South America, we can talk about South America. Oh yeah, we're talking about the Inca Empire and this, and then that's pretty much the earliest whenever anybody talks about South America. We don't really talk about before the Inca Empire. And when it comes to North America, you talk about the Olmecs and the Aztecs and the Mayans. But there's got to be much more to that history than that. Than just like 3 civilizations and boom, white people come there. So, what I'm advocating is to get rid of the Eurocentric bias. It really is there, obviously. Shit, we get to learn about all kinds of European kingdoms and empires. But but elsewhere, so much of the history is not taught in American schools, and also not only as a Eurocentric point of view, it's a lot of lies thrown into the history books, a lot of lies and a lot of half truths. So you gotta get rid of those as well. You gotta get a real unbiased as possible viewpoint of history, taught in American schools. So, but I think a lot of the folks in power do not want that, because I think you'll get a lot of people who want to right the wrongs made by particularly white people of past. You get a lot of people who want to right the wrongs of white people who lived long ago and who lived not so long ago. You know what I'm saying? And right the wrongs of white people who live today. So you got no more Eurocentric point of view when it comes to history classes in the United States.